Hi. Well, ahead of the next Pegasus salary guides, July 1st, 2025, I thought I'd just do a very quick video to give you an overview of where the market is at the moment. I decided to give the headline of these salary guides as the good, the bad and the indifferent, the first 6 months of 2025. So what do I mean by that? I think firstly, the macro tailwinds will continue to exist for construction professionals. That is to say, we have an ageing demographic, we have a lack of people coming into the industry, in my view, because there's a broken apprenticeship process or scheme. And lastly, there are so many countries out there who are actively trying to recruit UK talent, in particular commercial professionals, into places like Saudi and the United States. So overall, that creates a really great fundamentally supply and demand issue for individuals in the industry. It's actually terrible news for the overall industry. I think we've got real issues in terms of bandwidth, supply chain to be able to deliver a lot of the major schemes that are coming up in the UK. But for you as an individual, that is not a bad thing at all. So certainly the macro, the longer term situation, I think for construction professionals in the UK is absolutely fantastic. There is a but, and perhaps you expected that with the title. So that's the good, but the bad is we're currently also facing a number of, micro headwinds in the industry. Some of the obvious ones being the planning process, the process around the Building Safety Act and getting to Gateway 2. The issues around the UK just not getting on with its spending review, and as much as we had the spending review announcement a couple of Wednesdays ago, still, from what I understand, getting the supply chain going and releasing task orders is taking a heck of a long time in the process at the moment. And then there's the reality of the national grid at the moment. It's creaking at the seams, and so a number of energy intense projects such as data centres just simply can't be built in the UK yet. I'm hearing as much as 2 or 3 years away until the grid catches up and they've got the capacity to be able to attach large energy intensive projects such as data centres to the grid. So all in all, that's really slowing the market down. Added to that, I think some organisations are just struggling to navigate these conditions. I think some of that is self-inflicted, some of it is the market. I'd certainly say a lot of major organisations, particularly major engineering-led consultancies, are almost retrenching back to their core skill set and perhaps pay less attention around areas such as cost management, project management, controls, which are the areas that obviously these salary guides are primarily orientated around. I think some of those issues have been a long time coming, probably post-COVID. I think in the kind of post-COVID boom that happened when it almost seemed easy to win work, some companies made some really questionable decisions around hiring and retaining of staff. They offered probably above average level salaries in the market, and there was chronic over-promotion. You've got a number of individuals in the market, perhaps who I would say probably operating at kind of senior PM, senior cost manager level, who are currently got an associate title, or individuals who are probably at best associate who are currently titled at project director. It's not unsurprising, unfortunately, that where many of these businesses have gone to redundancies, of which there have been quite a number, the individuals at the levels that seem to get most affected by redundancies are that kind of project director level or technical director level they may be called elsewhere in the industry. So above the associate director bracket, but maybe below the strategic director level within the industry. They're the ones that have been most affected, I would say, by redundancies in the market at the moment. So that's the good, that's the bad. What do I mean by the indifferent? By the indifferent, I mean that I think some organisations at the moment are just almost in a holding pattern. They're not entirely sure where the market is going at the moment, and consequently are probably not in a hiring mode, or certainly if they are hiring, it's limited. So for those reasons, I guess for many of my our avid Pegasus salary guide subscribers, you'll probably note in this year's, or the latest one, July the 1st, that there isn't much change in salaries, and that's because there's probably a bit more of an even playing field at the moment. Typically it's been a very candidate-led market, and whilst I would still argue it's a candidate-led market, the reality is there's probably a bit more balance of power now. Employers have choice as well, and consequently we've probably seen that has almost kind of flatlined salaries at the midpoint of 2025. Okay, so what does this mean in the market for salaries but also opportunities? So what I would say, when the market gets a bit more balanced, good individuals will still always find opportunity. Something I will die on my little hill on, insofar as good individuals will always be able to find an opportunity, 100%. So if you're good, if you would describe yourself as above average, if you also tick some other boxes, a solid career history, the right projects, probably the right qualifications, being chartered ideally, then I would say you will still always be at the kind of, let's say, upper half of the salary bandings listed within the salary guide. A word of caution when looking at the bandings, I think if you're looking at the very top end of those bandings, I would say that is for individuals who are exceptional but critically about to step up to the next level. So you're a senior about to step up to associate, or you're an associate about to step up to associate director. You're at the very top end of that spectrum, and probably candidly in some of the sectors that are also in demand and have got a high fee environment. So I think essentially you do have to be a little bit more balanced and objective about who you are in the market, how capable you are compared to others in the market. But equally, if you are very confident about your own ability and where you stand compared to others, then you should be confident about the market. Generally, just be a bit more realistic. Now, before everyone thinks this is a negative situation, what I would say is there are certain disciplines, certain levels that are absolutely in massive demand at the moment. If you are intermediate to senior, so 4 to 10 years experience, probably not yet in a manager role, so not yet at associate director level, possibly managing 1 or 2, but generally in a delivery level role, then I would argue this bracket is in huge demand in the industry across the UK. Added to that, if you can demonstrate you've got a good career history, idea that you're chartered, that you've got really good projects on your CV, and that you are capable of managing your own projects up to a certain value, then I would say this is where you probably need to be looking at the top half of the bandings within my salary guide. Okay, so it's not all negative by any means. As for associate directors, project directors, directors, maybe this is where the market's cooled slightly. Now, if you're good in that market, so coming back to the same principles of the level before that, if you have got a good career history, you are chartered, you are doing critically what we describe in the salary guide. So if you're an associate director, you're managing a team of 4 to 8 people, you're looking after fee income of 400 to 800k, you're probably doing you're certainly doing client management, possibly some business development as well. If you're at that level, then you should be ticking the boxes. Added to that, if you're in the right sector, you've got a good career history, etc. And again, you should still expect somebody in the top half of the bandings that are listed in the salary guide. Now, if however you're one of those levels, and if you read the salary guide and the description we give in the salary guide is not you, so let's take for argument's sake you've got an associate director title but you're not managing anybody, you're not really responsible for generating additional fee, etc., then maybe you need to be more realistic and possibly you're in the bottom half generally of that banding. I hope that makes sense. Some of this is a degree of objectivity and also a degree of subjectivity. At the end of the day, a company may meet you and they may view you as being the best thing since sliced bread, and they may be willing to offer you more money. But as a general statement, I would say if you are not fulfilling the core skill set described for those management level roles, then you may need to be a little more realistic in the market. There are some caveats though. There are certain sectors that are absolutely red hot still, and I think are probably paying a premium at the moment. That includes health, it includes data centres, it includes life science, it includes commercial, and it also, as always, includes MEP. Your MEP individuals are always hard to come by and hence are always in short supply, and it's a supply and demand scenario. The other one to look at is NEC, individuals who've got really solid understanding of the NEC contract, perhaps are an accredited NEC PM, NEC 4PM. Again, you're in massive demand just by the virtue of some of the large programs that are going to go ahead, which are all being delivered under NEC. So I think, as I said before, it's about being a little bit subjective and objective at the same time about the market, about where your skill set lies, and being honest with yourself. The last trend I want to bring you aware, that will make you aware of, and please don't shoot the messenger, I'm only reporting what I see in the market. is that I think most businesses are generally making a push to get people back into the office more. If you're particularly resistant to that and appear maybe inflexible, if that's the right word, to potential employers, then that may have a negative effect on the kind of salary you can command compared to those who are more willing to go into the office, more willing perhaps to travel to site, etc. As I say, please don't shoot a message on this one. I'm only reporting what we see in the industry. It's a definite trend though. Now, I hope you find the salary guide useful. What I would absolutely say though is, whilst we are very clear and confident that those salary bandings are correct, it only tells half a story. Without somebody like myself, an experienced recruitment professional, speaking to you, understanding a bit more about you, your level of experience, what skills you bring to the table, what other experience you bring to the table, I can't probably give you a super accurate answer about level of salary, what you should expect. So what I would always advise, please review our salary guide. If you're uncertain, certainly if you are considering looking at the market, then please do reach out to us. Either myself or one of my team can give you a more detailed understanding about what you should expect in the market, a realistic level. And heck, certainly we are speaking to people still in the market who are absolutely massively underpaid in the market, and we are absolutely securing them much higher salaries. Equally, if you're at certain levels, I refer to again the project director level has taken a bit of a battering. That's where most redundancies have happened. That may be a level where you may have to be more realistic and maybe consider a bit of a step back depending on the opportunities that exist out there. If we have a detailed 10-15 minute chat with you, we can probably give you a much more accurate answer on that and try and give you some good advice around that. I hope you find the salary guides useful. We do put a lot of effort into these each year. We have revamped the current one for the 1st of July. It's going live. I hope you enjoy it. Any feedback, please do reach out to me or one of my team.